Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Supreme Court has formally recommended the transfer of Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Varma, who was caught in the eye of a storm after wads of burnt currency note were found at his home during a fire. And he's been repatriated to his parent high court, that is the Allahabad High Court. And SC Collegium had uploaded the repatriation order on the SC website yesterday. But what has happened in the Allahabad High Court in the meanwhile? The Allahabad High Court has announced an indefinite strike from today after they passed a resolution yesterday opposing his transfer while seeking a review of his judgments during his tenure as Allahabad High Court judge. Bar Association has also requested the Chief Justice of India to allow the filing of an FIR followed by investigation by the CBI, ED, and other investigative agencies. Now, will Justice Varma's transfer to Allahabad High Court help the case reach a logical conclusion? That's question number one. Then the next question is that what if Justice Yashwant Varma proves innocent? Will media and the Allahabad Bar Association apologize? And the third and the most important question is that is there a move by the government to reintroduce the National Judicial Appointments Commission? Joining me now is Mr. Farman Naqvi, who's a senior lawyer from the Allahabad High Court. Mr. Naqvi, thank you so much for joining. We have Puneet Nicholas Yadav, who's the political editor of the Federal Group. Thank you so much, Puneet, for joining. And I'll begin with Mr. Farman Naqvi because the Allahabad High Court, it seems, has come to a standstill. The Bar Association has announced an indefinite strike. Now, what is it exactly that you all are demanding, Mr. Naqvi?
Well, the position is, madam, that the High Court Bar Association had requested, and by a resolution, that his repatriation to Allahabad High Court should be stalled, and he should remain there in Delhi itself, and the entire inquiry and FIR, whatever may be the consequences, that will be met in that situation. And the Supreme Court should not pass an order of repatriation of Justice Varma to Allahabad High Court. That is the main demand. And there are other demands also.
No, but my point is that if even he is transferred to the Allahabad High Court, he is not involving himself in any kind of judicial work. So why are you all protesting only, asking the Supreme Court Collegium to take back the transfer? He anyways is not involving himself in any kind of judicial work. Whether he's in Delhi or in Allahabad, it doesn't make a difference. So why are you all protesting on this bit?
If he is a judge of Delhi High Court, why should he be repatriated because of just some allegations, some rumors, some other things? Why to Allahabad? Why not he may remain in Delhi and not perform his duties? As you said, that he will not be allowed to work here, judicial work he will not perform here. He is not performing the judicial work there. So he should remain in Delhi. First of all, the inquiry should conclude and a final verdict may come that, look here, he is responsible for all this, and or he is not responsible for all that. In the meanwhile, why creating this confusion to send him to Allahabad? There is no reason for sending him to Allahabad. He should remain there in Delhi itself. That everything would be done there itself. The inquiry will be concluded there. There is no involvement of Allahabad in any manner, Allahabad High Court in any manner in this murky affair.
No, but so your opposition is basically that he shouldn't be asked to go to Allahabad. Is that your biggest reservation, that he should not enter Allahabad?
And one more demand, there is one more demand, that in Allahabad High Court, 160 judges' strength is sanctioned. Presently, we are working with 79 judges, less than 50%. I have filed a writ petition that was listed today, but because of a strike, it could not happen. But we have made the prayer that, look here, you apply your MOP, you apply the second High Court, this reference judgment of the Supreme Court, in which this MOP had been taken into consideration, and after that the MOP was prepared, that the prior to retirement of a particular judge, 6 months before, you start the proceeding for appointing a judge. All the formalities should be completed within 6 months. And on the day of retirement of that judge, the next day, the new incumbent will join. What is the problem in doing this thing? The Allahabad High Court, why the Allahabad High Court is suffering for this? We are working with less than 50% vacancies. And presently the position is in one court or the other court, if you go through the cause list, about 800 cases, 700 cases are listed before a particular judge. Is it possible for a judge to decide 800 cases, 600 cases in 5 hours period? At least 10 minutes time should be given to a particular case. If you divide 10 minutes case, 10 minutes per case, how it could be done within 4 hours? That 300 minutes. More than the judges are doing extra work here. They are under tremendous pressure, tremendous pressure. Come here and see the position. Our lawyers are screaming that my case is not taken up. Sorry. Our lawyers are screaming, our clients are, the litigant are screaming.
No, but Mr. Naqvi, this is an issue which can be a separate issue. Why to club it with Justice Varma's case and then raise your voice on this? Why?
Because the once the issue erupted on 14th, after 14th, whatever date it could be, because on 14th it said that fire had broken out in the house of that honorable judge. Thereafter, for 4-5 days, we were not knowing this thing, that this has happened in Delhi. After 19th or 20th, it came into light by a news report. And thereafter, everything has happened. And immediately after coming to this news, certain inner group of the ruling party started that no, NJAC should be introduced and this collegium system should go. Why not they have raised this voice when Shekhar Yadav had done this thing and Supreme Court had reprimanded him? Why they have not raised this voice? Where were those persons who are now screaming that no, this collegium system should go? Why they have not raised this voice just 2 months back? They should have raised this voice prior to this also. They were silent. Every person of this group, take the name. I will take name of one person only, Harish Salvesa. He immediately jumped to the ring and started screaming that no, collegium should go, collegium should go. Why he had not screamed with the high-pitched voice at the time when the Shekhar Yadav's episode came into light? It means there is a design in this thing. My respectful submission before this panel, that there is a design in it, because the entire story is a murky story. We don't know where are those notes, currency notes, which were burnt. The burnt currency notes are case property. In whose custody that those burnt note are lying? Where is the FIR? Against whom the FIR was lodged? Why the house or the place from where this incident had occurred, why that place was not secured immediately thereafter? Who were those persons who were making those films, videography or whatever it may be? Whether that videography was made at Clark Place or some room otherwise, or Dwarka or somewhere else, or at the house of Justice Varma.
No, you've raised important questions. Yeah, Mr. Naqvi, just hold your thoughts. You've raised some very important questions, and I would want to go to Puneet because he's been following this case very, very closely. Puneet, of course, the story looks very, very murky, but the design at which Mr. Naqvi pointed out that there is a feeling that the government is wanting to bring back the National Judicial Appointment Commission. And now you have the vice president, who's the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, also talking about it. There are several voices. Salve is speaking, then Mr. Mukul Rohatgi is speaking, and all the senior lawyers are talking about this. Uh, do you see this as some kind of a design that the government is now really serious on bringing back NJAC?
Well, certainly it looks like that. There is every evidence to point towards that. There may not be enough evidence in the Yashwant Varma case so far, but there's definitely enough evidence to point at the possibility of the government reviving the NJAC and, reigniting that debate and leading the charge. Interestingly, on the NJAC issue is not someone from the government, but the Vice President of India.
Yes.
At 4:30 today, he has called a meeting of floor leaders of all parties in the Rajya Sabha to discuss the Yashwant Varma case and whether and what kind of a structured debate or structured discussion can take place in Rajya Sabha on this issue. Earlier today, the chairman, Rajya Sabha.
Sorry to interrupt you, but has Mr. Dhankar spelled out that the discussion will be on Justice Yashwant Varma's episode, or the discussion is going to be on reviving NJAC?
See, how they frame the topic of the discussion depends on what transpires at the meeting he's convened with the floor leaders today. That is, of course, not for me to second guess. It depends on what, how they frame the topic of the discussion. But see, to my mind, there are three different issues at play here, which are kind of getting intertwined. One is the case in itself. Now, the story that appeared in the Times of India, the letters, the explanation by Justice Varma to the Delhi High Court Chief Justice, the Delhi High Court Chief Justice's letter to the Supreme Court, to the CJI, the CJI's own intervention, all of that which is now in public domain. For once, I think the Supreme Court has, gone all out in the interest of transparency. They've put everything out, perhaps more than what they should have. But now that all that communication is out in the open, and if you go through that, there are way too many loose ends to just jump into saying that Yashwant Varma has done this or Yashwant Varma has not done this, because a lot of what Justice Varma has said in his explanation will make you wonder. There are points in that explanation which will make you question the other narrative that has been peddled by certain quarters, and this whole theory of who was paying the monies and how the money landed up, and the fact that it was not found within his residential premises. It was found in an outhouse which he claims remained unlocked. Yes. I mean, you, me, anybody, the first question would be that if there is that amount of currency and legitimately collected currency with me, am I just going to dump it in a outhouse and go on a vacation?
Yes.
I mean, it needs to raise that doubt.
Right.
I'm not passing any kind of judgment here. I'm nobody to do that on whether
you are saying that one cannot dismiss if he is being framed.
Yeah. So
there is a consequence
exactly.
Also.
So there is the first aspect to my mind is that there are too many loose ends in either story. Whether in favor of Justice Varma or against him.
Yes,
that leads me to the other point, that before we know what exactly has happened, see, the Supreme Court has ordered an inquiry. The inquiry is ongoing. They've just started their work. But I mean, take our example. We're conducting a media trial. Everybody with a smartphone is happily tweeting about it. Everyone has a theory to offer. People who may not have ever seen the Delhi High Court, who may not recognize Justice Varma by face, are giving you scoops on who he used to meet, who was his go-to person and things like that, who brought him to the Supreme Court. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody is sharing it in public, and for as I keep saying, we have to wait for the inquiry to conclude. But before
Yes.
that happens, his reputation as a judge, his reputation as an individual has been, like completely taken for, I mean, has been completely tarnished.
That's right. No, but
So
Mr.
that is the
Naqvi,
second aspect of it. And the
yeah,
third and final aspect of it, to my mind, is how the government has lapped it up. And I think, the funny part or the irony here is that the way it kind of snowballed in Rajya Sabha, and the Rajya Sabha chairman, jumped onto the thing to suggest that the House should discuss this, is not because the government asked for an explanation or mooted a discussion. It is because Jairam Ramesh of the Congress party rose up and said on Monday, because this whole episode came out on the 20th, and so post Holi, when on Monday the House met, it was Jairam Ramesh who moved, raised this issue even before the proceedings could start, that we need to discuss the recovery of cash from the judge of Delhi High Court, and that is when the chairman immediately got into this thing, and this has been consistent with Mr. Dhankar's stand. As I was telling you earlier, when
but
he
you did,
became vice president, his
Puneet,
first
right. So
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, because you said that Jairam Ramesh was the first one to raise this issue when the House met on Monday. Now, what does that point at? I mean, where is the opposition on this particular issue? And today, of course, you said that they are all meeting at 4:30, and we do not know what's going to transpire in that meeting. But whatever decision is taken, but where is opposition basically on this particular issue? Because we've seen people like Manikam Tagore and all these leaders who've been giving adjournment notices so that a discussion can be held. So, what is opposition really saying on this issue?
Well, the opposition, of course, wants to know what has happened, and rightly so. It is an allegation of a very serious nature. So I'm not disputing the need to get to the bottom of this. But the point is, with this kind of a discussion, this kind of complete media scrutiny, the media trial that it has kicked off, the reactions from the Allahabad Bar, whatever is happening, are you playing into the hands of the government? And can you afford to do that and allow the government a handle to get into this whole scheme of judicial, of interfering with the functioning of the judiciary? We have, over the last 11 years, 10 years, repeatedly heard how the government has tried to undermine the judiciary in different ways. And now you are handing that chance to them on a platter with this. That is my point.
No, so
And
are you
I
saying that the
completely agree
opposition?
with Mr. Naqvi. Unfortunately, and I don't mean to offend anyone, unfortunately, if you look at controversies surrounding High Court judges in the recent years, whether it is because of their judgments or their conduct outside the courtroom, or what they have said in certain orally during a court hearing, 80%, 90% of the time they turn out to be judges of the Allahabad High Court. But you don't see the kind of outrage against them, whether it is Justice Shekhar Yadav, whether it was Justice Ram Manohar Mishra, who recently was, the author of that judgment, which said grabbing a woman's breast cannot be equated with rape or intent to rape, for that matter. Did you see this kind of outrage from the Allahabad Bar?
Yes.
So you can't have selective outrage.
Right. No, but one quick question, and then I'll go to Mr. Naqvi again. Puneet, you were saying that here, the government has been given an opportunity on a platter. So, are you saying that the opposition should have been calibrated, more thoughtful when it raised the issue, like Jairam Ramesh, given the kind of promptness he showed on the first day? Should the attitude of the opposition should have been more calibrated?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The biggest problem
Yes.
of the opposition at the moment is that the so-called India bloc's internal communication has completely broken down.
Yes.
I met with some leaders of non-Congress opposition parties who told me as much that Jairam should have, preempted what his demand for a discussion on this matter is going to do, how it's going to play out in favor of the government.
Mhm.
And this, we could have handled it more carefully had the India bloc floor leaders been meeting regularly and discussing, their floor strategy as they used to before the budget session, till the winter session of Parliament. This entire budget session, whether it was the first half or post recess, you have not seen a single meeting of the floor leaders of the India bloc happening. So
True.
every party is raising any issue and the way they want to, without any cohesive India bloc stand on the matter.
Yes. Will.
Right. No, those are important points, and I'm just wondering how the opposition is really going to unite on this issue. What is going to be their opinion? But coming to you, Mr. Naqvi, that supposing if Justice Yashwant Varma is innocent, and given the fact that the inquiry is still in process, we do not know whether he has been framed, whether he has deliberately done it. But what if he proves innocent? Is the Allahabad Bar Association going to apologize to him? And for that matter, even media,
As per,
where we are
as per,
included.
as per my information, and so far as I have heard my president, Anil Tiwari, he had certainly said this thing, that in case any inquiry is held at Delhi without sending Justice Verma to Allahabad, and he is found not guilty, we will apologize. It is his video statement. Probably you may have seen it. I will forward it to you. So
Okay.
that is the stand. That is the stand. And secondly, the principle of criminal justice is based upon one principle, one basic principle, that unless a person is found guilty, he cannot be assumed to be guilty. This transfer order itself is a punishment. And ultimately, if in inquiry he is found not guilty, then what will happen? So why this waste of money, transferring a person from here, then transferring a person from there, paying entire salary per month, but without taking any judicial work from him? Either that can very well be done at Delhi itself. Conclude the inquiry within 2 months, 3 months. Why not? It can be done. It could be expedited. Where are those police personnel who had recovered this money? Whether that those currency notes were fake or genuine, who has certified this thing? Who had certified that this video under the Evidence Act, which is required? Whether that 65B certificate was given to this, maybe that could have been there, but it was shared with the highest judicial officer of the country, Chief Justice of India. So I cannot doubt that it was not certified. But in public domain, we are not knowing this thing. A video was shared with the Honorable Chief Justice, the Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, and thereafter, they, in their genuine approach, they have shared it with public, so that there should be no further doubts. But ultimately, it had to stop somewhere, because once the inquiry had been instituted, this witch hunting, which is going on here against Justice Verma or his family, that is not proper.
No, but
For,
Mr. Naqvi,
for
do
the,
you see Justice Varma's transfer to Allahabad High Court as a punishment, or do you see this as some kind of a relief? Because there is a debate over this, whether you consider it as a punishment or it's some kind of a relief, it's coming as a blessing to him at this point of time. How do you see this?
Madam Niluji, you are in public, you are doing your program. Our Nicholas Ji is also in public, they are doing their program. Once a transfer order is passed, how an employee or a worker feels that he had been transferred because of certain things in the department. Why transfer? It is not a government job. He is not a clerk. He is not an officer. He is not an IAS officer. He should be scheduled to be transferred anytime. He is a High Court judge. His transfer should be for a purpose. What is that purpose in transferring him? Once you are transferring him and also asking him not to do any judicial work, so that can be done at Delhi itself. Why at Allahabad? That is the question. It means it is something like a punishment to a person to go to there with a blot after media trial at your birthplace itself.
Right.
Go and face the consequences there.
Right. One more question, Mr. Naqvi, and then I'll go for the concluding remarks to Puneet. That how you've announced an indefinite strike today. How long will you continue with this strike at Allahabad High Court?
Any decision, once any decision is taken by the hierarchy of our Supreme Court, then if it will be withdrawn. If the transfer order is withdrawn, then all right. If not withdrawn, then they have to take into confidence the Bar Association also. Why not Bar Association is taken into confidence in all these issues? Shekhar Yadav had done his this statement was given in the Bar Association hall itself. And later on, Bar Association had barred any political program in the Bar Association hall itself. This President Anil Tiwari itself has barred that. No political program will be allowed to be done in Bar Association. Do it outside. Within the premises of High Court, Bar Association meeting hall is situated. In that, this has been done. No action was taken. And ultimately, वो जो कहते हैं ना कि ठेंगा दिखा रहा है, उन्होंने किसी को कुछ नहीं किया. What this is the situation. If something has to be done in more honorable way, that could have been done in more respectable and honorable way, instead of doing this. Why there are two resolutions of Supreme Court Collegium, 20th and 24th. Once the 20th resolution is there, that is with regard to transfer of repatriation of Justice Justice Varma to Allahabad High Court. Then again reiteration on 24th for the same thing. It means they are also under too much pressure.
Pressure or pressure, or maybe they are a little confused as to what the next course of action should be.
It cannot be said to confuse. Because of pressure, they may be confused.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. All right.
I'm sorry. I should not have said this thing. But ultimately, this entire thing is very. And one thing more, because you are closing your program. One thing more, the issue with regard to this corruption, neither Justice Harish Salve Saab, nor Dhankar Saab, nor Jairam Ramesh, they have not said anything about the corruption in judiciary, NJAC. Why? The issue is corruption. Basic issue is corruption. Nobody is saying about anything in corruption in the judiciary. They are saying that just appointing of judges should be given to, the power of appointment of judges be given to the government. That's all. Then we will control everything Why you are not raising the issue of corruption? They are silent upon it.
Right. All right. Okay, so I'll come for the concluding remarks to Puneet. What would you really say towards the end? Because this entire discussion again leaves us all very, very confused as to what the Supreme Court is going to do, whether they'll be able to reach a logical conclusion. What does the government want? Where are we headed to as far as this entire debate is concerned? Puneet, can you shed some light on this?
Nilu, I think, to my mind, it's a very, very sorry situation to be in on either side. Whether you're Justice Varma or you're from the rest of the judiciary, or even from the lawyer fraternity. It is a very murky situation to be in. You asked about the Supreme Court, whether it's under pressure or is it confused. I wouldn't say that the Supreme Court is acting out of confusion. I certainly agree with Mr. Naqvi that the Supreme Court perhaps is not just under tremendous pressure because of the seriousness of this case, but also because the Supreme Court and the current collegium, the current CJI, realize what this evolving controversy, how it could damage the independence of the judiciary and the implications that the political fallout that it might have, given how the Rajya Sabha chairman and the government and even the opposition have reacted to the whole situation. So they are perhaps doing damage control, but then I think it is also a time for the collegium, for the apex judiciary, to reflect on better mechanisms to deal with situations like these. Just saying we're going to repatriate the judge to his
Yes.
home court is not the solution. It is, and you've seen how it's panned out. I mean, how the Allahabad Bar is up in arms. So they need better mechanisms. They need better mechanisms for appointments. They need better mechanisms for ensuring transparency, for ensuring that there is no corruption in the higher judiciary. I'm not even going into the subordinate judiciary, higher judiciary at least.
Yes, certainly.
So this is a moment for them to reflect very seriously on this, because once you go down that slope of the NJAC, it's a very, very slippery slope.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that perhaps is the pressure that the Supreme Court is currently acting under, which is why you see this kind of, what may appear like a very overzealous reaction in terms of, putting everything out, including that video on the Supreme Court website, then one order on the 20th, another order on the 24th. And I'm told, I mean, there have been clearly procedural lapses, because this entire episode happened on the 14th. The intervening night of the 14th and the 15th. I'm told those police officers who purportedly made those videos were asked to submit their phones yesterday. 9 days later.
It's there in the newspapers also today.
It should have been submitted right at that very moment when, because in the very first letter sent to Justice Varma from the Delhi High Court Chief Justice, he talks about the video.
No, but will this point not tantamount to, just destroying the evidence? Because if they've not collected the phones of the police officials.
Well, if not destroying, then certainly tampering. There is definitely enough room, in 9 days to tamper with a video. So, there are too many questions here, and unfortunately, very few clear answers. But the government certainly has got a handle that it had been waiting for. And in fact, the chairman today used the opportunity, Mr. Dhankar, to make two assertions. One, that, he said if the he didn't name NJAC, but the way he said it was absolutely clear that it was the NJAC that he was talking about. And he said that, if that legislation that was unanimously passed by Parliament, barring one abstention, had not been struck down by the Supreme Court, this situation would not have arisen. Okay. Now, I mean, on what ground are you saying that nobody is going to even question him? I mean, there is anyway no avenue to question the vice president directly. And then he said that if our legislations passed by parliament are going to be struck down by the Supreme Court, then we have to reflect on what are we here for. So we need to have safeguards against the judiciary striking down legislation. I mean, that's a very, very dangerous territory that you're getting into if this continues to snowball the way it is.
Absolutely. And I think, Puneet, I mean, the statement where you said that the government has lapped up this opportunity, which seemingly looks very, very true, but can opposition really calibrate its move now? And can this
See,
Neelu,
I'll make one final point. It's a very sad thing to say, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. I don't think whether it is the government or the opposition, I don't think anybody wants an independent judiciary. Which is why you saw when you had the NJAC bill passed by parliament, it was passed unanimously. So,
absolutely.
I mean, and which is why it, as I said, it makes all the more incumbent on the worthies of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice downwards, to reflect very seriously, take this moment to reflect very seriously and put in place the mechanisms that kind of protect the sanctity of the judiciary and their own independence.
Absolutely. And can this be a wake-up call for the judiciary is the million-dollar question. I'll have to end it here. It was a very interesting discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. Naqvi, for joining. And let's see how your indefinite strike pans up. Thank you so much, Puneet, for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.